do what you want to 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 do.
You have an amazing history in the music industry, and I'd like to just begin with you telling us a little bit about how you started in the music world.
Okay, so in the music world, I start like a lot of people, I think, just enjoying buying vinyl every week, until you have a nice collection, and then in the same time you're trying to work to get a job. So I was an engineer. I was learning to make bridges and airports, And engineering school in France, they have a lot of nice concert hall with screen on the wall and nice, fantastic facilities. And I just say, why don't we use these facilities? So even though I was a good student learning how to build airports, I was trying to make concert in my concert hall. But already at this time in France, the concert network was super focused with like big agents and big promoters, who of course refused to send their band to your concert hall. And so we had to find your own bands. And we became so famous that the Bandouche in Paris, which was a very legendary club, asked us to book bands there. And we started booking bands there. And then I went to MIT, which is an engineering school in the States, to learn to build airports. And when I came back, I met Richard Branson because he was trying to put his airline on in France. And I met with some of the French team of Virgin, which was kind of a cool company. And finally, I finished running the publishing company. So I left the airport world and managed a publishing company, and I learned a lot by being a publisher. And so at the time, publishing was not really exciting, but I tried to sign bands with a possible potential, and on Virgin Music we signed a lot of very cool bands, world music act like Youssou or Shep Khaled or Negres Vert, Mano Negra, all the alternative world. I went also to try to find new kind of culture. And in France, at the time, it was alternative music, and very political music. And I think music is a popular art who needs to change people and to change. And I'm always interested in new music. First, you sign much cheaper than the pop music than all the majors sign. And secondly, you see a new current, and it's like in paintings where you have the cubist or the surrealist or the impressionist. In music you see the same. So I was always interested to find music from Africa, to find music from Asia, or to find music which is not, which is easy to sell all over the world. So after running the publishing, I ran my own little label that Branson gave me, and then I ran Virgin France, and I signed a lot of acts who became quite known, like of course Daft Punk, Cassius, Phoenix, Air. So with Virgin France, we really built a very strong, I think, repertoire, which is a mix of French and Spanish or African with Mano Negra or Manu Chao, and it became a really influence in Europe. It was selling all over the world. So it was cool.
That roster of French electronic acts that you've listed, pretty much everybody that's emerged on a successful level. What was it that brought all of those acts to you? Was it your relationship with the talent? What was it about you that was?
I think at Virgin in France we decided to spread the creative. So every time there was every time you sign a big act, your head gets big, and you lose momentum. It blinds you. There is a kind of natural force who make you blind, and so you don't hear the next step, or you need to have a real. So I always, when we were successful with one type, I always tried to go to the next wave, and finance a very small guy. For example, every Daft Punk was placed on labels Air was on Source, you know, M83 was somewhere else. You know, we tried to place every, you know, we were pushing every different fields, you know. And we were also very influenced because we loved independent labels, we loved the independent mind, and so we helped a lot of independent labels to be distributed in France. So we had Beggars, Warp, Domino, Wall of Sound, 4AD, Excel. You know, we helped all of them. You know, we really believed in it. Of course, when I run EMI Europe, I tried to implement that all over the world, but the politics start to be too heavy. You know, EMI was already rotten from the inside with the politics, with too many old people, and I had a French guy above me and 2 French guys running a company. Doesn't really work, you know. And when I left, I bought one of the nicest concert halls in Paris called La Cigale. I bought one of the nicest agencies in terms of independent mind called Corrida, who does Kraftwerk, Daft Punk. And I built a very strong publishing company, and I bought the biggest French copyright, which is My Way. By the way, everybody doesn't know it, but My Way is a French copyright. It's Claude François copyright. Claude François was a French act who tried to be disco, you know, but he wrote one of the major pieces. And I start a record company who's you know, very open to independent mind, and so we sign, you know, of course we sign a lot of electronic. You know, when we started about 7 years ago, it was like, I will say in French, the gueule de bois of Daft Punk. You know, when Daft Punk did his 3rd album, which I think is one of the most interesting albums, the one they did in 6 weeks, and we signed the publishing of this album. It was on EMI. EMI was lost. But at the time, we signed Justice for nothing because nobody was interested to sign electronic bands anymore. And I decided to help because I'm reaching an age where I should help people rather than, you know, I made a lot of money in this business thanks to EMI, but I think it's good to give back. And I help Ed Banger to establish itself. Like today, I help Errol Alkan and Fantasy to establish itself. I think it's good to, you know, you can sign your generation, the next one, perhaps the next one, but after that, you have to help people to sign, and so Errol Alkan in England or Pedro in France or key people and key visionary, and their naiveness is very interesting. Reggae music, they are pure in their choice. They don't sign for money. They sign because they love music. As I start, you know, and little by little, major company have a tendency to spoil you, you know. You don't, when you receive all records every day, you don't put it in your record collection. Your record collection is your art, you know. We have all the tools to broadcast all over the world. You know, we're doing a lot of filming. You know, the company is called because.tv because I think today image is key, you know, and the web is key, and broadcast is key, streaming is key. So I think a company needs to have his own team to be perpetually filming and recording, and you know what you're doing. I think
how big is the team there now?
60 people.
Okay, and you launched. What year did you launch?
About $60 million company.
Yeah.
We launched about 7 years ago.
Okay, and it was very noticeable. I remember when he launched because that. He was the first person that had a URL, because.tv. It wasn't a .com, it wasn't a .net.
Yeah.
It was very much a visionary idea.
Yeah, I think, yeah, even though I don't like the name TV, they classify you as a content company, you know, and today the first thing I do with one of my acts is to build their YouTube TV, you know. But we are much more open. We're not only electronic. The first act I signed, I remember all the MI people laughing when I left. The first time I signed is 50 years old, blind from Africa, you know, and we sold about almost 1 million. It was Amadou and Mariam, you know, because I think we talk about blues coming from America. For me, blues come from Africa, and mainly from Mali. And this is so pure, so smart. You know, these people have blend with Manu Chao, but they have blend with Gorillaz, they have blend with Santigold. You know, I love the blending, and I think the future is blend. You know, I think the success of Major Lazer right now is interesting because it's a mixture of electronic music, club music, and you can find Vampire Weekend, Bruno Mars, Santigold on the album, and they don't take themselves seriously. I think as soon as somebody takes himself seriously, I think it starts to be dangerous. You know, that's why I love this name. What you call it? EDM? I love these kind of stupid names because they're putting electronic music in a bag. You know, it's not new electronic music. You know, I'm gonna release in September, October a compilation called Cosmic Machine, where we had one of the first fair Jean-Michel Jarre track. You know, but you can see that in France it's 40 years old, and if you go to Germany, Germany is you know, it's sad because you don't have a lot of huge electronic company yet, but the treasure of Germany in terms of electronics is incredible, you know. The only complex situation today is anyone can be a DJ. Okay, so I have millions of DJ. Yeah, one lawyer today, you, my friend, told me that how many records has been released in England this year?
339,000.
Yeah, 339,000 records in England this year. About 100 doing 100,000.
129 sold over 100,000.
And
1,200 sold over 10,000.
okay, so difficulty for filters, because I think I call record company filters, is to find a good spot in the middle of that, you know, and I think the good spot is the spot where nobody is, you know. It's like surfing, you know. When you have 10,000 people on the wave, I vomit the wave, you know, even though it's big, let it for the guitar kids, you know. I don't like it. I go to the spot where nobody is, and a wave is growing, you know. It's like a cycle, you know, like music or music genre. They are extremely mathematics. They're like sinusoid, you know, and the cycle comes more or less, you know. Right now we're in a total reactionary period where people in design for furniture or in music, you know, we're listening to our past because we're rediscovering the past through internet.
I'm very intrigued. The reason I wanted you to come here was you have such a very big overview of the industry as a whole, and to give the electronic music world and the labels in here some advice about survival and about broadening out their remit of what they're doing and not being so niche in their aspects. And I really wanted to ask people from the floor to ask questions to Emmanuel, because I've taken so much wisdom from his words over the years. So I'd like somebody to start to volunteer some questions to him.
What's the one piece of advice you would give to somebody who's looking to start a record label?
Don't start it. Don't start it. I think records should disappear. I think what advice I will give to somebody who start a music company, to be passionate and to go, you know, even if you fail, go through your passion. Be listening to all advice, you know, and try to get to the good advice, you know. Try to bring some friends who have knowledge in finance and legal, you know, to advise you from the start, you know. Don't trust artists because it's their nature to be selfish, it's their nature to kill you one day because you have been their father, you know. So just keep a professional relationship with them, be extremely honest and fair.
Would you ever consider going back into a major label structure?
You can. I think you can be happy inside of the major company. I really think they are dinosaurs, and they're going to disappear because they're not fast, extremely slow, too much paid, and it can't survive. You know, with the figures we got, it can't survive. And I think this artist will. You know, the streaming will make artists available much faster. Things are going faster, and you need to be faster and faster. And I think the major companies are extremely slow. Electronic music electronic is an instrument for me. It's not a genre. You know, it's an instrument. You know, it's the future because everybody will blend everything now. You know, it will be difficult to imagine the music of tomorrow except a blend of all the kind but it always happened, you know, it always happened in the, you know, Eric Satie used to use very small instruments, and people blend all the time, and the blender or the innovator.
How was your experience working with Prince?
Wow, I sweat a lot working with Prince. I remember, you know, he's changing lawyers all the time and changing people all the time. But, I needed to pay for him to come in France. I need to pay him. I know it's not for him. It's just the fact that, you know, when you pay for promotion, you have to pay for all the band, and I think it must have cost about 120,000 euro. You know, just to bring in the instrument, because he used a special, you know, plane for his instruments and all his crowd, and I remember bringing everything in, and so he was doing 2 shows, and I had 1 show in La Cigale, and I have the record to sell, and 1 week of promotion he was supposed to do. Everybody telling me he will never do it, you know, and I remember him calling me the last night before he was supposed to come, say, don't worry, I'll do it, and I'll do everything. And you know why? The first week I didn't see him, and he was not supposed to be there, but he was at every fashion show. But the first Monday he was supposed to be there. He came, and he did everything he was supposed to do. He delivered a fantastic job. He did the concert for free at La Cigale. Honestly, he has been fantastic. He's still a genius. I'm not a big fan still of all his stuff, you know, because I think he missed an A&R, you know, but he's a total genius.
Final question, because unfortunately we're going to have to move on, but you talk about the fact that Prince needed A&R. You are incredibly close to your talent. I've seen the relationship that you have with your artists. Tell us a bit about that dynamic, how you get so close, because it makes you different to many other A&R guys out there.
You know, you're being close by taking risk. You know, I think you're not close by having dinner and lunch all the time with them, or I think you're close by taking risk. You know, if you take risk and you win through the risk you took, you know, you gain confidence. And I think the only good way to have a good relationship with an artist is to take risk with him. Of course, if you take risk and you fail, your relationship with your artist will be dangerous. I think when I remember with Daft Punk, when we decided to put a card inside the record, there was so much complication, you know, all over the world, in America. And remember, you were there. It was a nightmare. And same thing on Justice, when we decided to do a big live show, or to bring you know, an artist. Right now, I'm trying to bring Manu Chao to India, and it's complicated. And you know, all these kind of move, when you took the risk with the artist and you win, it gets you closer and closer. So I think, you know, I'm not really nice or friendly, you know, but you can count on me.